All right, it is 3 o'clock and it's time to start our next panel or our panel discussion on continuing to foster the communities we've built. And man, what a great lineup we have of panelists. I'm really excited that I get to introduce them. This is just a great group and I'm really looking forward to what they have to say. This is just so important of a subject with most of us not knowing how our bands will run next year, but we know we need to run them in some way and continue to build our band in one way or another. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce the panel, and that's Greg Drane from Penn State University, Kelvin Jones from Louisiana State University, Amy Knopps from University of Missouri, Roderick Little from Jackson State University, and Gary Westbrook from Tarleton State University. I forgot to mention, I'm Dan McDonald from Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana. So take it away, panel.
Thank you so much, Dan. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you all so much for being here with us. We know there's a lot of things going on in society, and as well as especially our home life. So we just thank you for taking some time to kind of just listen to us, kind of give our thoughts. One thing I just want to state, and I think we've been saying this throughout the past couple of days, is we don't have all the answers by no stretch means of imagination. All we're here to do is hopefully shed light to some things that are working for us, because one of the unique things about my colleagues on the panel is we all are attacking this from a different perspective, regardless if you're teaching a program of over 300 or under 200, or you're in the East or you're in the South or wherever you are. So the things that we're doing is just some things that are working for us or things that we're thinking about. A lot of this may be things you've already seen and done. So hopefully it can be a different way you can do some things, or maybe spark some new interest, or you can just ignore all these things totally by the end of it as well. So without further ado, I want to kind of pitch it to the birthday boy himself, the man from State College, Happy Valley, Greg Drane.
Hey, thank you so much, Kelvin. It's only fitting that Kelvin opened up for me, as his birthday was yesterday. And I always jokingly say that he's the opening act. But again, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate this conference, getting to at least engage with my colleagues in this. Continuing to foster the communities that we've built. I won't do the whole presenter view. I think this will work for us. Everybody see that okay? I guess if my colleagues give me a thumbs up, awesome. So for me, I took a different approach. You know, everything came down the line all of a sudden. And so for me, anytime something like this happens, I stop, take a step back, all right, and try to get an idea of the bigger picture. And also, if I could just be frank, I had just finished completing my PhD, so I wanted an opportunity to rest and just relax. So I kind of looked at it and said, all right, what do I have to do right now? This has changed the game. The paradigm has shifted. What needs to be done? And at Penn State, the Blue Band is so engaged with the community. So as a result, I kind of stepped back and began to look at the broader sense of the community, not just our organization, but also the Penn State, the larger Penn State, also State College community, and what that means. And I know for all of us, many of us have done these virtual ensembles. So Penn State went, of course, and we did a virtual graduation, and I was thankful that they asked us to put together a virtual ensemble to play the alma mater. And this was going to be the culminating event, you know, and I know I saw tons of other people doing the virtual ensembles. And again, I was like, uh-oh, I don't know how to do that. Again, I'm going to wait until exactly I have to. But once the president kind of calls and asks for us to be engaged in that, you know, the answer is yes. And then within that, I was also graduating. So, you know, that was just a part of the things that was going on there. So I understood that. But the relationships that we were maintaining, again, I began to look at the community we're a part of. The Blue Band is a part of the School of Music. The Blue Band is a part of the athletic department, and it's also a part of the university. So I began asking around, how can I help? And it felt great to not be in charge. I can now just be one of the followers, supporting my leaders. And as a result, some of the things the university was doing, and also athletics, they had these virtual tailgates to kind of celebrate the spring football game. So by me staying in communication with them, I was able to go in and drop in on people's tailgates and just say hi, you know, from the Blue Band. And it was always the same questions, you know, hey, when did the Blue Band get started? And my answer was, I do not know. And I'm okay with not knowing for now, but right now, just engaging with the larger community and within that. So these virtual tailgates and also representing the organization. I had 1 or 2 students. I really didn't want to tax our students, 1 or 2 students to also do drop-ins at these virtual tailgates. It was a huge hit. And then the last one that just happened recently was the family dinner. All right, so the athletic department, again, engaging in the larger city community. We did a family dinner. So I, again, representing the Blue Band, me and my family, we had dinner and people were basically Skyping in to dinner and we were dropping into theirs. And an other part of this was the goal was to help ask people to begin to order out, to support the local businesses, okay? So once again, looking at that big picture. So that's kind of how I had approached this, getting out to the bigger picture, an opportunity to stay engaged and support those larger communities who have supported us throughout our time. So that's just kind of briefly some of the things that I've done there. If you need to, my email address is right there. Please feel free. It's just gregdrane@psu.edu. And I think that is my time. Thank you all for listening. Kelvin, we can't hear you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. I feel like the old Verizon commercial. But our approach was pretty similar. When this all kind of hit around March, it was just, all right, pump the brakes, figure out what in the world is going on, because we try to assess, you know, what can we do to hit the needs of our constituents, and not only our fans or our alums, but more importantly, our students. So that was just uplift. How can we engage in some kind of positive capacity? So for us, we started doing some different things with our social media that we wanted to be strategic. But not only that, it's really important for our students. We're trying to figure out a way to kind of give them a break, because a lot of students' feedback for us were that once we went to remote teaching, everything just got compounded and was harder on them. So there was a whole mental health element that we weren't necessarily aware of. And the CDC even just released recently how by the time we get back to some quote unquote sense of normalcy, everyone in our program would have been impacted by this pandemic, either loss of a job, mental stressors, or sad to say, loss of life. You know, someone in some capacity will have been impacted by this. So we just wanted to give the students just a break, just so the rest of this month of May, while we would normally kind of ramp up things, just take time for yourself. And I know for me personally, I was dealing with some personal tragedies as well. So it's just a chance to kind of recharge and recalibrate the sense of why. But at the same time, we wanted to kind of re-strategize and refocus our social media. So some of the things that we did was every 2 weeks, so like a bi-weekly thing, we do a music video of Tiger Band footage, and we do it to either a popular school song or a popular stance tune that we get permission by the artist. And I believe, matter of fact, yesterday we just released our most recent one, and that's been considered pretty well and engaging from our fans as well. And also with that, our athletic departments have been using that material as B-roll for some of their donor events that they've been doing. We participated in the social distancing videos as well. I have my personal thoughts on those, but I'll say that for a different session. One unique thing about our program, each section of the band has their own Instagram page. So they've been using that to kind of strategically target those students specifically for their instruments, where they have some Q&As, they have some polls, and believe it or not, some of our sections have had sectionals, in-person sectionals, practicing the social distancing parameters. This was not under the permission of us, so to speak, but it was unique watching trombones 20 feet from one another trying to rehearse on things. So they're just kind of taking a proactive step on their own end as well. And then of course, having videos to kind of show for those. Also this summer, we're going to be live streaming some of our past performances. And one of the things we flirted with the idea for those that are on Instagram, there's the versus battles where you have pop artists, music artists, they kind of do a versus with one another. It's not really so much as a battle, but more so as a showcase of that artist's music and catalog. Well, we thought about what if we did that with different years of Tiger Band? What if we did a Battle Monday, so to speak, the 1982 Tiger Band, quote unquote, versus the 2002 Tiger Band. Maybe both of the halftime shows are from the homecoming game or from the Alabama game or whatever. And then we can kind of just show that as a showcase and nod to our alums. I know as much of our alumni is going to take that as a battle. It's really so much as a showcase and a highlighting of the rich tradition that we have here at our program. Another thing we've been flirting with is this guy from the TV show, The Office, John Krasinski. He has this show called Some Good News that's on YouTube. And we thought about what if we did a play on that, but called it, some Tiger Band news, and kind of just giving some weekly or bi-weekly updates of what's going on, while also including certain special guests in our program. Maybe one week we have the football coach, Coach O. We can have the drum major. We can have the Golden Girl member, or some form of fashion to make it lighthearted, but at the same time, kind of give some kind of engaging information to our students. And on a different note, this past April, we participated in our annual Giving Day, where we kind of talked about giving funds to our donors, but specifically for our emergency fund for even specifically Tiger Band students who have been impacted. And we're happy to say like $1 million was raised in one day, and of that, over $300,000 was earmarked specifically for the College of Music and Dramatic Arts. So it's just some different ways we've been trying to engage some of our constituents. For our students, the recent graduates, all the directors got together and put together a Zoom video congratulating each student for graduating from Tiger Band all the way down to different concert ensembles. For our current students and our leadership, we normally would start our leadership camp training in August. We fast forwarded all that to starting around June 1st. We assigned them a reading, the John Wooden book, A Lifetime of Observations and Reflections on and off the court. And we just tasked different sections to meet with different groups to kind of talk about those things and synthesize those, along with different leadership training we're going to be doing throughout the summer. That's something we're going to be doing on a bi-weekly basis starting next month. We're also putting together different virtual videos of marching fundamentals that we're going to disseminate to our prospective students coming in, being that how band camp is going to look, Lord knows how that's going to look, but we're trying to be proactive in those measures. For our prospective students coming in, like everyone, we had to go super virtual. So for the student that passes the round one of the virtual audition, they get the 5-star, congratulations, you made it past Tiger Band round one. And that's something that they can use on their social media platforms to kind of cross market, but also some sense of accomplishment for them. We already scheduled different Zoom meetings for the students and parents throughout the summer to kind of give them information as best as we know it. Tomorrow, actually, is going to be the first day where each section leader is reaching out to the incoming members that have auditioned. They're going to do like a Zoom sectional for them. We know a lot of students don't have instruments, but it's really just a way to kind of establish that rapport in a Q&A setting for the students. And as I mentioned earlier, some sections have already did in-person sectionals, but that's another story. We've also took this time to partner with our admissions on campus, and we've been a part of some of their Zoom orientations, just so we can kind of target and hit some of those different kids we may miss through the loopholes. And we've also set it up to where we have this system we're using called Navigate, where we can set up one-on-one meetings with any student who's registered to come into LSU that has a question about the band department in any capacity. There's a mechanism set up for they can sign up for a certain time that we designate, and then we set a time to kind of meet with them for that. And then something we're doing after later in the summer, we're gonna have like a welcome video for each specific student coming into the program. And just for some of our directors in the area to kind of reach out and engage them, we had an initiative, I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago, where we had every university director in the state get together on a Zoom video to kind of give we're all in this together and provide our K through 12 teachers some resources to use. And of course, we've been speaking with different high school directors in different programs via Q&A sessions through Zoom as well, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to figure this out together. So we're gonna pass it over to Amy to kind of talk about some things in more detail with how they're doing things out in Missouri.
Thank you so much. From one tiger to another. I love it. So as I begin, I want to go back to the title of our session, that continuing to foster the communities that we've built. And you're seeing that within our own music educator, band director community. And that's important for us to continue to lean on one another and help all of us navigate through this new normal. For us at the University of Missouri, when at the beginning of March, we were actually back in full marching Mizzou mode. We were preparing to go overseas to participate in the St. Patrick's Day festivities in Ireland. And so for us and for our students, you know, this was kind of the first domino that fell in the larger landscape of COVID-19, because, you know, the week we were 4 days prior to our departure on Monday, we were forced to postpone our trip. And then the next day we met as a full ensemble to discuss the outfall of everything. And then by the end of the week, we weren't going to the SEC tournament. Our students weren't getting on a plane to go to Ireland. And into the next week, we were all on distant learning. And before we knew it, our students were moving out of the residence halls. And so as this process was unfolding, I went right to our leadership team and I informed them that we have to rely on one another. We have to reach out and engage our students. And within our leadership team, we have a student position titled our coordinator of special projects. That student created a list of resources for our members. And then our leadership team was tasked with the task to reach out to the members of their section and to make sure that they were doing okay. And again, relying on their band family bond, that familiar bond that we have with one another. And I think as we moved into this virtual capacity, and we have to operate under these new parameters, that's what we relied on, and we reflected on those band family relationships. For us as faculty, we wanted to make sure that our students were experiencing as normal of a schedule as possible. Why? Because psychologically, in this ever-changing time, our students were craving that normalcy, craving that schedule. And that's what I simply wanted to provide for our students. And I wanted to inspire our leadership team to provide for the members of their section. And overall, as a university, we were focusing on that student experience. And that philosophy is what I wanted to, and I did communicate daily with our leadership team. I talk with them all the time about we work each day to set our members up for success. We focus on their experience that they have in our ensemble. And I tell them all the time, look, if we don't know about a situation, we cannot resolve a situation or issue. And you must communicate that no matter how small it is. Please let us know so we can better that student experience. Each day is an opportunity to become better. And as we were navigating through this, we've thought about that. What can we do today? How can we better this experience today for our students so they feel connected, they feel that their band family is reaching or looking out for them, taking care of them. And as directors, we wanted to continue to inspire that. So they felt that community and they felt that human connection. That's what we thrive so much on as directors. And think about what we teach. Music is the extension of the human condition. We have that as our core curriculum. And that is paramount for us to continue to have on the forefront of our members' minds. And additionally, as we were discussing, and we did the same thing, Zoom leadership team interviews, Zoom leadership team meetings, all of these electronic items. But as we were doing those, wanted to make sure that human element was there as much as possible. And I kind of tilted the sandbox a little bit for our students. And I told them to embrace this moment in history because it is a historical moment. And for us in March Mizzou, this is going to be Band 135 this upcoming season. And what we do, how we move forward, how we operate, whatever experience we will give our students, we will look back upon this and we will have that opportunity to say, okay, yeah, Band 135, even though we were in this pandemic, they continued to stay together. They remained as a band family. They remained as a community. And we had that opportunity to be creative. And you're seeing this over these past few days, being inspired by our community of directors and music educators to challenge ourselves, be creative. And that also gives us an opportunity for our students and some things that we may hold on to because of this, but here's an opportunity to embrace this moment and put that in the minds of our students. And as we were navigating through our leadership team, and we have an overall leadership team, but then we also have a substructure of our leadership team that I wanted to talk you through and share with all of you here for a moment. So I will share my screen and pull this up so you have an opportunity to see this. So in March Mizzou, and hopefully you can see this, and certainly let me know if you cannot. But we have 5 different subcommittee structures. We have our musicianship and movement committee. We have our policies and procedures committee. And of course, now as we're rewriting how we do things and our approach to our operation, this committee is pretty active right now and will continue to be as we move forward into our new season and academic year. And then second is our recruitment and outreach committee. How we are approaching this virtual recruitment, virtual auditions. How are we connecting virtually with our incoming students? And for us, we recruit all the way through the summer. We will members of Marching Mizzou all the way up through August 1st. So we are continually utilizing this committee and doing that outreach. Next, of course, the Technology and Communications Committee, another committee that's been really active and really busy to make sure we are fostering these communities through this electronic format. And last is the Uniform Committee that we have. And we'll, of course, make sure that this is available for all of you so you can see this, you know, in more in depth and utilize that potentially as a resource for your own leadership team structure. But what we found is that this focused different areas of our leadership team. Our students had the opportunity to own different elements of our program. And we have been meeting over Zoom to discuss. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm on the normally scheduled timeline. So I can provide that essence of normalcy for our students. Now, as with many of my other colleagues, we've engaged on social media. And this next approach I'm going to talk about is a little bit more lighthearted, fun, and it also helped to communicate our traditions and what's really special about being a member of Marching Mizzou. And this is an approach we did on Instagram and Facebook and in the stories feature of those social media entities. And you may have seen something really similar out there, and we kind of adapted to our own. This first item I want to share with you is the Marching Mizzou bingo, this bingo card. And as you look at it, you'll see things that, maybe, known for your program as well, but these were some of our histories and traditions. And you see at the bottom there, just simply tag 3 friends. So we could engage our current membership. We could also engage our alumni. And this allowed our incoming students and other prospective students to get a little bit of a window into what it will mean for them to become a member of Marching Mizzou. The next template we shared was the simple this or that, where students just, circled their favorite on either side of the lane there. And again, at the bottom, you see your turn. Let me engage you. Let me get you participating and you seeing what are our fun traditions and are our community band family items in our program. Next is this hashtag making memories. And this is something we talk about all the time in Marching Mizzou. We are making memories. And certainly as directors, you know this, we have a sheet of armor that we wear. We are ready for anything that comes at us. And often when the abnormal hits, you just throw your hands up in the air and you say, well, we're making memories today, everyone. And this allowed for that. Favorite tradition, your best friend, what do you miss in this time about our organization? What's your favorite memory? And again, that allowed our fans to see what's really special about becoming a member. And then finally, because again, we were all in quarantine for such a long time, we created this, just fun, pick an isolation house, tag your isolation buddy. And I don't know who decided to put directors with trombones, but hey, go house number 2. And this became, again, a really fun element for us. So hopefully that just gave you a little bit of a window into what we were doing at the University of Missouri and how important it is for us to continue to inspire our students, continue to remind them how special it is to be on our program and how much we need to lean on one another during this very uncertain time. And now to finish off, I'll pass it to a great friend and colleague, Roderick.
Hello to everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. I think I pressed the unmute button. Hope that I did, rather. But I would like to just thank all of my colleagues for providing such great information. To Barry Housen and the Athletic Band Committee, this is absolutely a great idea. I'm going to share my screen with you all as I go into what we do to continue to foster and keep our communities engaged. As mentioned, my name is Dr. Roderick Little. I serve as the marching band director at Jackson State University, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be the director of bands come July the 1st. So we're just going to talk briefly about what we do at Jackson State University, just some brief history about us. Jackson State University is a historically Black college and university down in Jackson, Mississippi. We are located in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, which is the SWAC. The band program was formulated in the 1940s. We have around about 10 instrumental ensembles. And we are the most visible program on our campus, as most other marching bands are. And we have roughly around about 250 and 300 students. So today we're talking about how we are keeping our communities engaged. And when we say communities, quite naturally, the first thing that we think about is our students. And so our students are very important to us. So that's kind of like the first avenue or the first section or group that we actually try to take a look at to make sure that we are fostering them. So it's some things that we look at, and particularly when we approach our students. So the first thing is that a lot of our students, they leave their surroundings to come to college to forge a different opportunity for themselves. So that's very important for us to realize that. So because of the pandemic that has recently gone on, it has enabled them to go back to those particular environments that they wanted to leave at one point. And so what we have to do is we have to continue to kind of motivate them through those times of that environment that they wanted to leave at that particular point. So as we all know, in our band rooms and in our band environment, it is an actual community, and it gives us a sense of family, right? So when they were uprooted from that sense of family, I'm pretty sure that was not a good feeling. And just speaking to a lot of our students, that was not a good feeling for them to be uprooted because they were expecting to finish out the semester. So we have to make sure that we connect them with that family that they were uprooted from, which is very important. Also, like my other colleagues has mentioned previously, is that we have to provide some sense of normalcy for our students. At this particular point, there's not much to do and shelter in place. So we have to be creative in some ways. And so what we have to do is, as leaders and band directors, we have to create some sense of things that they have been familiar with prior to leaving for the pandemic. Also, Kelvin touched on this just a little bit. Even though we want to keep our students engaged, you have to be very mindful not to saturate them with videos and a lot of media, because it can become a very, very egregious task to kind of continuously have them to read emails and read messages and things like that, and have them to be a part of video chats, because they can desensitize from that and not actually want to be a part of that particular those particular events that you actually have for them. All right, so again, continuing on with our student engagement, we have done several things to, again, continuously keep them engaged with our band program. The first thing that we did was our annual leadership training. Of course, usually it is face-to-face, but we could not do that because of the pandemic. And of course, it is used to strengthen leadership, and all of these things are done via Zoom. We have also had a returning student informational. We actually did that last night, and we are actually having an incoming student informational. We're going to be doing that tonight. And amidst all of the information that the students need to receive to know how we're going to be moving forward in our band program, the most important thing that I enjoy from those sessions is just seeing the students come in the chat and interact with each other. That's the most important thing to me, because that lets me know that we have built a family atmosphere in our band program, and we're trying to do that from a virtual sense as well. The next thing that we do is that we stay in contact with our students via the band app. Some of you guys may use that. It's an excellent platform to use to stay in constant contact with your students. And we let them know what's going on with their peers, because their peers may need some words of encouragement. They may have some jobs that they want their peers to support. They also may have some things personally going on that their peers need to support as well. We also post motivational messages and videos for our students. And above all, we always send encouraging words, just trying to motivate them through these uncharted waters. And we've also been doing our auditions virtually, our winds and percussion auditions, and that has went very well for us. And we've also done our auxiliary auditions as well, which we had our outstanding auxiliary director, Miss Chloe Ashley Crowley, to actually do that for us. And so that was a very good process that we undertook probably about a week ago. All right, so let's talk about our community engagement. We have a huge following of the Sonic Boom of the South, so we want to make sure that we keep all of our constituents and our fans engaged with what we're doing. And the most important thing, we want to let them know that we are still going. And I think that's just with everybody in general. Us as people, we want the nation, we want the world to know that even though we are going through this pandemic, we're still going through these times, and we are all pulling together to make it through this rough time. So obviously we use social media to keep our fans abreast of what's going on with updates. We've done a recruitment video. We have done a social distancing video. Once we concluded our JSET auditions, we did a video there, which we shared with our fan base. We have done a director's informational and motivational video for secondary education school students. And we are also doing a virtual band camp, which is actually free for all. And at this particular point, we have over 1,000 students signed up for that virtual band camp. And it's wonderful for us because it keeps our student leadership engaged, because they're actually going to be running those sessions. And also, too, we can reach a broader fan base by actually doing that virtual band camp. So these are some things that we're doing with the Jackson State University Band Program. And what I'd like to do is, and I know that a lot of people have probably already done this, but I'd like to show you guys just briefly one of our videos that we've done that was actually made by our assistant band director, who is a technology whiz, if you will. So I just like to kind of share that with you guys to see what type of means that we use to kind of keep our fans engaged during these unprecedented times. All right, so just briefly showing you all what we do to keep our fans and our students engaged. And I thank you guys for the opportunity to take a listen to what we actually do. And if you have any questions, of course, they're going to be leaving our contact information at the end of this presentation. So I'm going to yield now to my colleague, Greg, who's going to finish everything up for us.
Actually, I'll take it before Greg goes on. I've got to follow that. That was great work, Rod. I do not have a PowerPoint or a handout, and I know that those of you that know me are sitting there thinking, oh no, I am on a strict clock, so it is not going to go very long at all. I actually have some action items for you because some of us just haven't thought about the types of communities that we connect to. Let's face it, this pandemic has sucked. We're teaching our own students virtually, trying to figure how to do that. Many of us are teaching our own kids. I can one up all of that. I've been teaching all of those, and my wife, because she has been a student in my online graduate program. And if you can survive a pandemic teaching your spouse, then you must be doing something right. Anyway, that's a different story. The first action item I have for you is, have you checked on your current students? And I would think that most of us have done a really good job with that. We were at a place in our year where the athletic bands had just wound down. We had finished football season. We had traveled to Hawaii to celebrate our centennial. We had just finished conference basketball tournaments. Neither of our teams were going to advance. We were leaving Division II. We kind of finalized Division II as we head into Division I next year. We lost a student in between the end of conference tournament and spring break. It was not COVID related, but when we got the news, but it would have been a time of year where we had just sort of were chilling out on the athletic band side. So our band faculty did a really good job of just reaching out one-to-one with our students consistently, because, you know, we're in the middle of Texas, we're quite rural, but we're very close to Dallas, but our students are from all over the place. And so we wanted to make sure, hey, are things at home okay? Yeah, we know you don't have your instrument. We'll make an arrangement for you to get that if you want to come back up here. Yeah, I know that you're working 60 hours a week now that you're home. You know, how can we help you? How can we make things good for you? So if in all this time in the pandemic, you haven't done that yet, please make sure that you're in touch with our current students. Those are our constituents. That's our primary community, and that's our retention based. The second community that we're all in touch with is our colleagues. Our choral colleague was very anxious with the research that came out about choirs and how COVID-19 had an effect with them. And so we knew from our point of view, we were operating from a position of strength a little bit more than he was. And so we sort of just between that and a statement was made to the faculty senate that, well, I'm not sure that the ensembles can still do what they do if we're all online. So we kind of felt in both those cases, we needed to be a little more proactive instead of reactive. And so we sent up a general statement to our administration just to make sure they knew we got it. Whatever you throw at us, we have this. We're not going to put any details on what that looks like, but just understand that even though it doesn't look like normal, we've got this situation in hand. And just this past week, our administration sent down a copy of that memo that was sent up with the statement, received and appreciated, thank you. And so we wanted to make sure that we really touched base with those communities that we work with greatly. We already have a great relationship with athletics. And so I just sort of sent an athletic band version of the same memo to them, and they weren't surprised, and they said, yeah, we understand. And so some of the things that Amy shared, athletics was already doing in terms of virtual tailgates and keeping folks engaged. And so they just included that on us. That's just something they ordinarily do here at Tarleton, is they had the which room would you choose, and they put one of the pep bands in this room and one of the pep bands in this room. And then we had student athletes fighting for which pep band they wanted to be in their room. So it was kind of cool for us to kind of take that to social media and get to voice our opinion. There's two other communities that I would ask if you've checked on. The first is this community, the colleagues around the nation. I would, as soon as we announced that we weren't going to have the convention or the symposium in Cincinnati, I had folks reaching out to me going, oh, we got to do something. Can we have a happy hour? Can we do this? Can we do that? And I know that there's a lot of directors in between that upper division two, underneath the group of 5 folks, where we're expected to do the full meal deal and we're it. You know, you're the only athletic band guy on your campus, in some cases, the only band guy on your campus. And so a lot of those conversations started happening. I mean, we even mentioned something about, hey, what if we, you know, if our budgets are all cut, what if we just did a consortium of commissioning a show and we're all the design team? So, you know, you're a brass guy, I'm a percussion guy, that's a guard person. We all just kind of got together. And then around the same time, Varsity did their initiative as well. But those are sort of community conversations. And I think, to a man, every time I come back home from the symposium, I say to my wife, and I hear all of you say this as well, this is easily the best conference we go to every year. And I don't think this is any different. As a matter of fact, I almost texted the committee last night. I think there's going to be a want for the online portion to continue. And so that may be something that we need to talk about and offer some feedback about. The last group community would be our future students. And we were very blessed here that our applied faculty, while we were out doing a lot of athletic band stuff, covering games and stuff, they had done such a great job on the recruiting trail that we were ahead by the time we got to spring break. As a matter of fact, our director of band sent out an email the week after, stop making offers. We're out of scholarship money. We've already offered all of our stuff. And so we've taken the time since covering all these other communities to make sure on a one-to-one basis, these students understood, we're still here for you. We're going to have a band for you. We're not sure what it's going to look like. And I think it's okay to be honest about that. We have no idea what it's going to look like, but there will be band here at Tarleton. There will be band for you to do. So I would say, in terms of action items, identify your communities that your band has an effect on, and make sure that you reach out to them. Be proactive, like Corey was saying yesterday, and then just make sure that you personalize it. Okay. Dan, do we have any questions or?
The only question Kelvin answered, it was from Brian Britt, just asking those of you that are having student leaders doing online sectionals, can you guys share like how you're doing it? What are you using and what format are you using? So I think Amy talked about that, and Kelvin, you talked about that a little, I think.
Yeah, I know for us in particular, we're revamping things what we normally do. We're starting right now with, like I said, the John Wooden reading that we're assigning with all our students, and as well as some different readings that I know I'm doing for myself personally. But we're taking the readings in particular with the John Wooden to kind of talk about how they being reflective for things they've experienced within their section on themselves and things that they want to do moving forward. We've typically, let me back up. We announced our student leadership typically at the bowl game. This year was unique because of the championship run. So early, or actually mid-January, we had section leaders assigned, and then we meet with our section leaders to kind of figure out what are some things that they've experienced the past year, and then in particular, what are goals they have for the upcoming year, and also speak with them about concerns that we may have for certain sections or ways we want to see them improve, so on and so forth. So we kind of put together kind of a game plan, section specific, if you will. And so this reading that my awesome colleague Cliff suggested that we do with each group, and we're kind of shaping what we view our target and action goals should be with each section, within each section member.
Anyone else have any additions to that? Or if anyone has any questions, we do have a couple minutes. If you want to type those into the Q&A, it can be directed at anyone specific, or if you have even just a general question about building your communities or keeping them built, I guess is really the conversation here.
Yeah, Dan, if I could jump in real quick, I just wanted to say, you know, with everything that we're doing, you know, I think it's always just important to go back to the intent. Go back to your intent, because that is what's going to drive everything. We've been doing things a certain way. Of course, we all recognize things are going to look different. So go back to the intent and then just find a different path to navigate in order to stay true to that intent and those beliefs.
Yeah, I actually already ordered the book that Brian Britt talked about yesterday, talking about the why. Why do we do this? So I'm waiting for it to come in Sunday, so I'm looking forward to that. So anyone else or any other questions out there?
I was just thinking all these tigers, you know, the real tiger over here down in Clemson, South Carolina. No, just kidding.
Amy, I think you were jumping in, were you?
Yes, I was just going to mention and share with everyone.
I think we lost Amy for a second.
I was about to narrate Mark.
There you go, Kelvin.
I only have one, but you know, we got some more coming along the way. Not to turn this into a banter moment. But
all right, I'm gonna start interjecting here. If this is gonna be a showing of the championship rings, I have nothing to speak to that. So you know, those of you out there that don't understand what that's like, it's okay. Join the club. We just keep on keeping on.
Well, I would have gotten my Final Four ring if I knew we were going to compare rings.
Did we lose Amy?
I think we did. So unfortunately, and we're just about out of time here too, unless someone wants to jump in with one last thing. Or
I can just speak for, I think for all of us, when I say, like, you know, these are just ideas that we have and just some thoughts and concerns that we're trying to do. We're trying to figure this out together. One of the unique things and awesome things about this conference, I think Gary mentioned earlier, is how we can typically share ideas. And I know this isn't quite the medium to do so, but by all means, if anyone has any cool things that you all are doing, please share them in the chat section or send it to us, because by all means, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to make this work for our students. And I know a lot of people are trying to think the same thing, from the college all the way down to the middle school level. So any insight and the feedback, we're in this all together. I promise we are. So any information is good information.
Hey, Kelvin, there's a question that just came across the chat, not the Q&A. So I'm just going to throw this out to the panel. There's some visual designers out there that are a little concerned with all this about not being able to find work. Within the community, is there a way, or does anybody have any thoughts? Thank you, Amy.
I know for me, I have no clue. I just had the idea the other day of this is going to sound extremely taboo. So for all of the Tiger fan police out there, like how can we do a different version of pregame? And I say that's taboo because that's something that's been, decades and decades old, but it's impossible to do while trying to adhere to social, distancing guidelines. So just yesterday, I was figuring out ways that we could still do something similar to that. At the same time, it's going to be different, obviously, but the concern of drill writers is a great one because we honestly, right now, we just don't know what's safe. And the last thing I think any of us want to do is to be a hotbed or do something that's going to be detrimental to our students, even if it's 4-step spacing, 8-step spacing, there's so many different factors. So I know for me, I have no clue, but it's definitely something we're trying to figure out on our end.
I mean, heck, we may need drill writers even more now that we have to figure out different spacing and all sorts of other guidelines.
I'd like to jump in a second. I know David Mills had commented earlier that his administration had already told him they're not operating in the fall. And if that is happening elsewhere around the country, that is way too premature to be deciding this in May. And if your administration has made that decision, you need to fight that with some facts right now. The science does not support shutting down band programs yet. Perhaps choirs might be in more difficult situation right now than bands, but we don't have any scientific studies that say band is dangerous. Now, we have a feeling there might be some issues, and that's why the study that we're about to undertake next week is so important. But as we stand here in May, there should be nobody shutting down any band program anywhere, and we need to fight that right now. We just can't allow that to happen. It's way too soon. Way too soon. I think all of us here are planning for a normal fall, and then we have our various backup plans, right? So what if we're all virtual? What if it's a modified format? What if we can only put 25% of the band in the stadium? We need to make those plans, but we don't need to shut down right now. That's for another day and time, and let's fight that as hard as we can right now.
I'm gonna add on to that, and I think Mark and I are very much of similar thinking, and we've said this even from day one. And so want to reiterate that again, that the purpose of this symposium. There's been a lot that we've talked about with virtual teaching and things like that, and that's keeping our students engaged. But if you're kind of sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting for things to happen, not doing anything to prepare for the fall, that is not the place to be. And I think we can all, adamantly say that you may not know what your exact plan is for the fall, but you've got to be planning. And I think most of us are, that we're planning for a regular fall season. And then you're going to have these backup plans depending on where your state's going to be. The worst situation any of us could be in is if the fall moves forward as normal and you don't have a show. You don't have drill, you don't have music, regardless if it's stock, it's custom, whatever the case may be. So to circle around, to Christopher's question about being concerned about being, a young drill writer and so forth, put yourself out there. People are going to be looking for drill writers still. We have to continue to move this activity forward. And I think for you, Christopher, and any other drill writers out there, look at the science, look at the information that's been presented in these sessions and beyond this, of what's in the COVID-19 response report. And, there's a lot that we can take away from this in terms of how we can write this drill effectively. And I know there were some concerns earlier of people saying, well, what about the transitions from chart to chart? We're going to have to think about those things in a different way. And Greg made mention of this in this session, that The norm, it's not going to be normal. It's going to be different. But looking at that doesn't mean, to Mark's point again, that we shut everything down. So, be proactive. After this symposium, if you haven't done any planning for the fall, man, you should have some great resources ready to go and to get things underway. Get your students fired up. They need something to look forward to, and that's what this whole symposium is all about, and everybody in our organization, that's really our thinking in all of this. You haven't heard anybody say that we're shutting anything down. So be proactive, be excited about that. And to Kelvin's point, again, we are all in this together. There's so many resources, and together we are so much better as opposed to individuals. So there you go.
And thanks to everyone here for the great presentation the last hour. Awesome to see you all here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, a tremendous thank you to Greg, Kelvin, Amy, Roderick, and Gary. Great ideas for programs of every size, every level, once again, to keep your students engaged. So thank you for that.